He wakes up before the sun, not because mornings have always been easy, but because somewhere along the long, quiet hallway of his doubts, a new door has opened. He stands there in the half-dark, shoes by the bed like faithful guards, the air cool on his skin, the mirror honest. There is no applause, no uplifting soundtrack yet, only breath, heartbeat, and a decision. He ties his laces and in that simple motion chooses to become the person he has wanted to meet his entire life. People say transformation begins with belief, but he knows it starts one level deeper, with a choice that repeats until it becomes a rhythm. He is not chasing perfect, he is chasing better. He does not ask for lightning, he asks for steps. He knows that if he owns the morning, the day will begin to bow. He heads to the gym while the city still yawns and rubs its eyes. The iron smells like a promise, cold at first, then warm in his hands. He is not here to impress anyone. He is here to negotiate with himself, with the part of him that loves comfort, and the part of him that loves growth. The plates clang. The music is just a whisper behind the pulse of his focus. He starts light, because foundations are not built on pride but patience. His form is a quiet sermon to discipline: back straight, core tight, breath steady. He is not fighting the weights, he is learning their language. He lifts, lowers, locks in, and somewhere between the second and third set, the past loosens its grip. He remembers the times he started and stopped, the promises made on Sunday night and broken by Tuesday morning. He remembers the excuses that sounded like reasons: too busy, too tired, tomorrow for sure. He remembers how he kept outsourcing the life he wanted to moments of motivation and dopamine surges that faded like smoke. But today, he rewrites the script. Today, he doesn't wait to feel like it. Today, he acts and lets feeling catch up. He learns that consistency is not sterile, it's sacred. It's the thing that carries dreams across the desert between intention and reality. He watches others around him, a lifter with calloused hands and quiet eyes, a woman pushing a sled with the determination of a storm, a man rehabbing a shoulder with slow, deliberate movements. He realizes the gym is a sanctuary not because it is loud, but because it is honest. Here his effort is a mirror, his results do not lie. He doesn't envy anyone, he studies them. He sees that strength has accents. It sounds different on every person, but truth is universal. The barbell does not care who he was yesterday, it cares who he decides to be today. He feels fatigue creep in on the third exercise, that familiar ache that once sent him home. But he has learned to name it correctly. It's not a signal to stop, it's a sign he's arrived at the intersection where change begins. He adjusts his stance, drops the weight a notch, and chisels his form. He stops measuring progress by numbers alone and starts measuring it by integrity. How true he can stay to his standards when no one's watching. Every rep is a vote he casts for the stronger version of himself. Every set is a promise renewed. He finishes his session with a quiet nod, not a victory dance. He knows one workout won't change him. He also knows one workout is all it takes to begin. As he walks out, the sun rises like a standing ovation he didn't ask for. He feels different, not because he is transformed yet, but because he has stepped onto the road where transformation lives. He understands that he will trip, stall, and sometimes slide backwards, but he also knows that momentum favors those who keep showing up. Today, he showed up. In a world that glorifies highlight reels, he has embraced the art of raw footage, the unfiltered grind that never goes viral but always builds legends. He learns to build his day around anchors. Sleep becomes sacred, not negotiable. He guards it like a gatekeeper of progress. Hydration stops being a chore and starts being strategy. He keeps a bottle nearby as if it were a compass, never letting thirst disguise itself as fatigue. He pays attention to protein like a craftsman pays attention to tools. Careful, measured, consistent. Breakfast is less about taste buds and more about trajectory. He feeds the person he wants to become, not the cravings of the person he is leaving behind. He discovers the calm science of warm-ups. Mobility drills that once felt unnecessary become the doorway to stronger lifts and pain-free days. He treats his shoulders like hinges that need oil, his hips like corridors that must be clear. He realizes that preparation is not a delay, it is acceleration in disguise. He breathes deeper during his sets, learning to exhale tension and inhale intent. The barbell path becomes crisp. He films his squats to study angles and depth, not to chase likes but to chase truth. He learns to love cues: knees track over toes, chest proud, drive through midfoot. When the weight wobbles, he doesn't panic, he adjusts. He is becoming a technician of his own body. He rotates his program with humility. Strength days are the bedrock. Squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, the movements that pay dividends. Hypertrophy days sculpt the details. Controlled cadence, mind-muscle connection, stretch under load. Conditioning is not punishment, it is permission to own his lungs. He keeps it simple but not easy: sled pushes, assault bike intervals, incline walks that burn like truth. He learns that sweat is just ink with which discipline writes its chapters. There are days when the gym is crowded, mirrors fog, music too loud, and park in a mess. He trains anyway. He recognizes that resistance outside the workout is also part of the workout. He adapts, swaps movements, keeps the intent. He is learning that flexibility in method and rigidity in principles is the alchemy of progress. If a bar is taken, he grabs dumbbells. If a bench is occupied, he goes to the floor. He is done waiting for a deal. He builds progress with what is available and watches excuses starve. He adopts a pace that's his own. Others may lift heavier or move faster, but he no longer lets comparison turn into poison. He celebrates small wins like they are vital signs: an extra rep, a cleaner lockout, better posture at the top of a deadlift. He notices how confidence sneaks into his posture outside the gym, the way he stands in conversations, the patience he brings to problems, the almost musical cadence of his calm. He realizes the gym is not a separate world. It is the forge in which he shapes how he meets every other world. He teaches himself recovery like a language: walks after dinner, gentle stretching while the kettle warms, a short session with a lacrosse ball pressed into tight tissue. He listens to signals without dramatizing them. Pain is not a badge or a prophecy, it's a note. He responds with modifications, not meltdown. He knows he can deload without developing doubt. He treats soreness as evidence, not as an excuse. The work is adding up quietly, like interest in the background of a life that once felt stagnant. He faces the plateau. That slow, stubborn stretch where numbers freeze and patience is tempted to fracture. The bar that once moved like a sentence now sticks like a stubborn truth. He rereads his logbook, tracing the graphite smudges of weeks where progress felt effortless and the ink marks of the days that felt like he was walking uphill in sand. The plateau is not punishment, it is invitation. He retools, reduces volume slightly, tightens rest periods, cleans his nutrition like a window to let light back in. He checks his ego at the door. He remembers only amateurs chase novelty for its own sake. Professionals refine. On a rainy morning, he meets a trainer who watches him lift and says little at first, then offers one cue that changes everything: own your setup like it's part of the rep. He understands. He slows down the ritual before the lift, feet grip the floor, hands set, lats packed, breath anchored low. The bar comes up smoother, not because it got lighter, but because he got clearer. He learns that confidence is born from standards repeated without compromise. Life tests him outside the gym, too. Late nights at work, a rushed schedule, a missed meal, a family commitment that knocks him off rhythm. He doesn't spiral. He adapts like water finding its way around a rock. If he can't train 60 minutes, he trains 20 with intensity and focus. If he can't cook a full meal, he builds a plate that's 80% right instead of 0% done. He is allergic to all or nothing now. He chooses always something, and the compounding effect feels like a secret handshake with destiny. He begins to see the subtle transformations. Shirts fit differently across the shoulders. Stairs no longer demand tribute. He moves boxes for a friend and only notices the weight after the third flight, because his lungs refuse to negotiate for air the way they used to. His mind is quieter, less prone to panic. There is space between stimulus and response now, a small, powerful pause where he decides who is in charge. In that space, he consistently chooses the person he promised to become. On a day that feels average, he loads the bar with a number that once felt like a rumor. He doesn't announce it. He doesn't film it. He steps under, breathes, braces, and drives. The weight moves. It moves like a story breaking into a new chapter. He racks it with a small smile. Not a shout, not a celebration, just the understanding that this is what happens when effort and time decide to work together. He records it in his log and then goes back to work. He learns to love the days when everything is heavy, not because he enjoys suffering, but because those days remind him that growth is not supposed to feel like a spa day. He becomes a collector of hard things. Early mornings, clean plates, eccentric reps, negative pull-ups until full ones are honest. Farmer's carries that make his grip talk and his mind stay. He celebrates resilience like it's a muscle he's finally learning to train. He starts to mentor his future self through notes that sound like quiet advice: don't chase the pump, chase the practice. Don't worship fatigue, worship form. Don't aim for perfection, aim for persistence. He builds a relationship with discipline that is not abusive but affectionate, a kind of tough love that says, I want more for you, not from you. He extends that love to his past self, too, forgiving the years spent in loops of almost. He realizes forgiveness is not letting himself off the hook, it's setting himself free to do more. He feeds himself stories that build him instead of break him. When his mind whispers, you're not that strong, he answers, watch me accumulate. When it says, "You're too late." He answers, "I am right on time for the life I'm willing to build." He stops looking for hacks and starts respecting the fundamentals as if they were sacred texts. Protein targets, progressive overload, patience with sleep, vegetables that never go out of style, steps that keep the engine humming. He finds out that boring is not the enemy of results, inconsistency is. He creates rituals to make success automatic. Gym bag packed the night before. Playlist ready but not relied upon. A default B-plan workout for chaotic days that keeps the streak alive. Push, pull, squat, carry, 15 minutes of conditioning. He builds decision trees so that each obstacle meets an answer. No bench, floor press, no rack, dumbbell goblet squats, no treadmill, jump rope intervals outside. He trains the skill of not being derailed. He notices his reflection less and his patterns more. He learns that the mirror reveals outcomes, the calendar reveals causes. He makes friends with slow progress because slow is the tempo of things that matter. He respects maintenance phases like a chess player values positional play, quiet moves that set up loud victories. He takes deload weeks without anxiety, understanding that the system needs to exhale to inhale more deeply later. He begins to understand that longevity is the strongest flex. He brings curiosity into his training. Why does that rep fail there? What happens if he shifts stance by an inch? How does tempo change the story? He treats his body like a laboratory, not a museum. He stops labeling days good or bad and starts labeling them informative. He reframes soreness as feedback and hunger as a reminder to plan better. He becomes a storyteller of his own data, connecting dots across sleep, stress, training, and nutrition. He realizes that agency is not an energy, it's a practice. He starts walking taller, not because his muscles demand attention, but because his integrity does. When friends ask how he stays motivated, he smiles. He tells them motivation is a spark, routine is the engine. He describes the bittersweet joy of choosing the harder path on purpose and finding out it's the one that makes life simpler. He knows now that self-respect is earned in sets no one posts, in reps no one counts, in choices no one notices. He has discovered a clean, quiet pride that does not need to be announced. He finds himself back in the morning dark again, but it feels different now. The shoes by the bed are not guards anymore. They're teammates. The mirror is not a judge anymore, it's a witness. He looks at the person standing there and understands that the real change was never the inches or the kilograms or the pace. The real change was the architecture of his identity. He is no longer the kind of person who tries. He is the kind of person who trains. He is no longer the kind of person who hopes. He is the kind of person who builds. And as he steps out into the cool air, he knows something beautiful. No one can give him this, and no one can take it away. He has forged it, piece by patient piece, on mornings just like this one, in sets that looked ordinary and were anything but. The world will keep moving, the calendar will keep turning, the seasons will keep changing, and he will keep showing up. That is his gift to himself. Promise kept so consistently that it becomes who he is. If you listen closely, you can hear his footsteps in the half, light, steady as a drum, announcing a simple truth that could change anyone's life. He didn't wait to feel ready. He decided to be ready, and the rest followed.